Hello, everybody, and may I welcome you back to my channel. Last week, if you remember, and if you watched the video, I did the video on how to develop a story. You can check the link for that video in the description here below. I also thought it would be a good idea to make a video on plot versus story. Because one thing we need to get clear on is that there is a difference between story and plot. And as always, the suspense builds for you, isn't it, as I prepare you for what I'm about to say, doesn't it? Plot is the events of a book or movie, or anything else, whereas the story is about a person who has some sort of flaw or anything else like that that is challenged by the plot, and that person either overcomes it or is destroyed by it. So while there might not be an original plot that has been told for almost several hundred or even several thousand years, you can have original stories. And to prove that point, how many books or movies about police have you read or watched, if it's a movie or TV show, that were about the cops taking down an international or some type of drug ring of any other organized crime element or anything like that? Well, bet there's a lot of them, so many of them, or maybe even all of them. Am I right? You know I am, don't you? Anyway, the story for one would be case in point the Lethal Weapon movie. The first one, anyway, was a detective, Sergeant Murtaugh, on the verge of retirement, is forced to take on a new partner, Sergeant Martin Riggs, who was on the verge of suicide. That's kind of how the difference between plot and story, as you can see, which also builds up a conflict. As they say, no conflict, no story. As you also want conflict between the two heroes, oftentimes too. Another way to look at that is the 5 W's. Who, what, when, where, and of course, why. So your book is about someone who did what? And when did they do it? Where did they do it? And of course, why did they do it? And of course, this is another way to develop a story. So let's go with this, shall we? Then, and make a story or start something with the 5 W's. So, what this story is about is, let's think about this. Pretend we're working at a think tank where all we really do is sit around the whole day thinking. Well, let's think that this is a story about a woman who has set up a GoFundMe page. That's your who and what right there. When is she did it around Christmas and the where? Well, obviously GoFundMe is set up on the internet, and well, her place of employment and place of residence was her hometown where she grew up with her family and friends. And of course, why did she set up a GoFundMe page? Well, because her sister was diagnosed with a rare life-threatening illness, and they had to raise upwards of, well, let's just say, shall we, $1 million or however much money to get the operation to save her life. Sounds interesting, maybe? You can run with that eventually. That's just the start of it. Of course, you can come up with any number of plots that have been done like that and go through that again. Which we will. And again, working at a think tank, we're going to think and say, let's start with that cop story again. A cop who is investigating a crime happening before a high school prom in whatever city you want it to be in, and has to possibly cover up evidence or bring it forward that could incriminate her child being the one who committed it. Well, that sounds like a pretty neat one, doesn't it? Could be interesting. Could be. Anyway, as always, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. And also, thank you for watching. And remember, make it a great day.